Glory days, 1968 to 1972. League Division 4, 68-69. Division 4 second, promoted. League Cup, first round. FA Cup, fourth round. There are some Halifax Town supporters who believe, with some justification, that the finest side ever to represent the club was that put together by Alan Ball Sr. during the 1968-69 season. Yet there are others who, whilst acknowledging its achievements, believe that the club went on to produce more talented sides. Alan Ball might have been the first to agree that his promotion-winning side had its limitations, but what he produced was a set of players that knew how to work hard for each other, and for a full 90 minutes. If the team lacked flair, it certainly wasn't found waiting for fitness, for that was the key to his success. During the season it would have been hard to find as fit a side in the 4th Division, or even the whole Football League for that matter. Ball had claimed when he first took over as manager in November 1967 that promotion was his number one priority. To achieve it, however, he needed to strengthen his squad. Ray Holt had been sold to Scunthorpe, so Ball brought in Burnley fullback Mick Buxton and a couple of internationals in halfback Mick Megan, Republic of Ireland, and forward Ian Lawfer, Northern Ireland. Megan had had a lengthy career in the 1st Division with Everton, but arrived at the Shea from Huddersfield, while Lawfer was signed from Brentford, having started his career with Sunderland. Yet Halifax made a poor start to the new season, not only losing their opening 2 fixtures, but also crashing out of the League Cup to 2nd Division Hull City 3-0 at the Shea. There was also something of a shock when one of the club's most loyal servants, fullback Malcolm Russell, he was the only player still at the club who was part of the team relegated in 1963, expressed a desire to move on. After playing in only 2 games, he went to Southport in exchange for a useful £7,000. But for the player himself, it was probably the biggest mistake of his career. £1,250 of that transfer money was used to bring in a young centre-half to the Shea. Chris Nicholl, rejected by Burnley, was then turning out for non-league Witton Albion, but the vintage Ball knew a talented player. From the vintage, Ball knew a talented player when he saw one, and Nicholl quickly adapted to league football, becoming part of a mean defence that included a new full-back partnership of Ivan Hampton and Mick Buxton. The team began to settle down and results improved, save for a 4-0 reversal at the Shea by Darlington. When Doncaster were beaten in a thriller on the 26th of October, Town moved up to 6th. Ball's insistence that his side was going places began to be taken seriously. The defeat of Doncaster brought a few smiles around the Shea, for the club revealed a record loss for the season for the year ending the 31st of March 1968 of 15,886. Chairman Alan Madden emphasised that there was no crisis at the Shea. He felt that the situation the club found itself in was simply a challenge. Alan Ball loved challenges, and he was presented with one of sorts when Town were given a tricky first-round tie at West Midlands League side Bilston in the FA Cup. With a good run in the competition and necessity, if only to bring some money into the coffers, Town were locked at 1-1 with 12 minutes to go, until 2 late goals saw them through to round 2. In view of the financial situation, the directors probably welcomed a replay at Crewe following a 1-1 draw at the Shea, and rubbed their hands with glee as they beat the Railway men in extra time. That replay at Gressley Road would have been the last match Buxton completed that season. The following week at Peterborough, on a frozen pitch, the referee elected to start the game, only to abandon it at half-time, but Town had already paid a heavy price. Buxton had broken his leg and would not return to the first team until the following season. Ball had to act, and did so by taking Rotherham United fullback Andy Bergin on loan, before securing him permanently the following March for £2,000. Whilst Town's run in the FA Cup was a distraction from their league efforts, it was at least an exciting one. But when they were drawn away at 4th Division Swansea Town in round 3, it could hardly have been called a glamour tie. A tricky tie certainly, but Les Massey's late strike proved enough, and Town moved into the 4th round, where they were, thankfully, paired with a 1st Division side in the form of Stoke City. Whether the players had this game on their minds or not, they failed to win any of the 4 league games that preceded it, and that included another 4-0 home defeat, this time by York City. Some supporters pointed to Town's small squad of players and wondered whether it was actually geared up for a promotion push. Ivan Hampton was unfortunate to be injured in the game against Bradford City, and was therefore forced to sit out the cup tie at the Victoria Ground, where Town came so close to winning. The bumper crowd that turned up for the replay at the Shea, while disappointed at the scoreline, Town losing 3-0, at least did much to top up the coffers. Once out of the cup, the Shaymen were left to concentrate on the league, but with so many games to fit in it, the extra pressure was put on the players to achieve results. but they were up to the task. A goalless draw at the Shea. In the Shea mud against Chester at least showed that they were suffering no hangovers from the defeat by Stoke. In February, Ball added to his small squad by signing, initially on loan but permanently, in a £3,000 deal, Bury's Lammy Robertson. The newcomer did not have to wait long for his first team start in Town's colours, but at the same time another Town player was ending a 50-week wait for his. Mark Pearson, one of Manchester United's Bugsby babes, made his first start against Colchester and scored a memorable glancing header as the Shaymen won their first game in the league for 6 matches. A goalless draw at Lincoln looked worthy enough, until it was pointed out that Town had only scored 4 goals in their last 8 matches, but that was what Town were about. Nick a goal if they could, then defend resolutely to protect it, as single-goal victories over Darlington and Grimsby indicated. In April, Town managed to record 3-0 wins over both Workington and Newport. The points accumulated strengthened their position, but even at this late stage, 14 clubs were still in with a realistic chance of gaining one of the 4 promotion places. A 0-0 draw at second place Colchester may have been unspectacular, but Town did at least prevent their opponents from scoring at home for the first time since August. Not surprisingly, other teams began to take serious note of Town's exploits. Attendances began to increase as the folk of Halifax latched on to the possibility of Town gaining promotion. Victories over Brentford moved them into 5th place and set them up nicely for a crunch derby at Rochdale, another team with one eye on Division 3. They were lying second with the same number of points as Town, but it was Dale who strengthened their own position with a 1-0 win in front of Scotland's biggest crowd of the season, 13,266. Defeat by Dennis Butler's solitary strike in off the post meant that with just 4 games left, Town could not really afford any more slip-ups. A brief break away from the text to read out the Did You Know section of the book. They're littered throughout the From Ball to Lillis, a complete record book. Did you know? Bob Sutter is the oldest player ever to appear for Halifax. He was 48 years and 288 days old when he turned out at Darlington on the 24th of April 1929. By the time Rochdale visited the Shea for the return fixture, Town's chances had improved with a win over Aldershot and a draw at York. With Doncaster already assured of the title, the Shaymen knew that victory would guarantee that they would join Rovers in Division 3 the following season. An incredible 17,186 packed into the Shea, and in a tension-filled charged atmosphere, a headed goal by Massey, who else, 14 minutes from time, was enough to secure promotion, the first in the club's history. Town moved into second place, but Rochdale's victory over Southend 2 days later enabled them to leapfrog over the Shaymen. However, a sterile 0-0 draw at relegated Bradford Park Avenue on the 12th of May in the final game was enough for Town to reclaim that runners-up spot. But Halifax Town's season was not quite over. 2 days later they were beaten 5-0 by Don Revie's Leeds United. They were league champions, making it a good year for West Yorkshire in a West Riding Senior Cup tie. Afterwards the players left for a treat, a European tour, as Ball had promised if promotion was achieved. The 3 games in Belgium, France and Luxembourg saw Town draw 1-1 with Nemo. They beat Hyange 3-0 and Genenese 2-1. The tour was not without incident. The morning after the first game, Mark Pearson walked out of the team's Luxembourg headquarters before breakfast and headed home along with Ivan Hampton, who was ordered to leave because he claimed he was bored. The following day, Pearson, always a controversial character, was sacked, and this soured somewhat on a historic season, one that up to that point had seen Halifax Town claim their finest hour.